Hello there, and welcome back to War Thunder. So today, this is your annual reminder about the current state of naval forces, and there are many scenes, and later on an entire gameplay, that shall demonstrate just a part of the naval forces world in War Thunder, and its, well, let's face it, problems. The state is unexcusable at this state. The proof, if you will, or some evidence that I'm not alone, is that there are not many YouTubers that make content about this in the first place. A third to half of the teams are bots in order to fill up the matches. The queue times are getting longer and longer, and this shortly after the introduction of even more battle cruisers and battleships. Naval Forces is the victim of Gaijin being too early, too greedy, wrenching out the money from the player base. And still we have problems like stuff not rendering. Look at this. I know that there is a patrol boat. There it is. Now you see it. Let's unlock it. And now you don't. Just saying, I'm on more or less maximum settings on a monster PC 4K resolution and 115 FPS. If that's not enough, I don't know. Just many things, it will be obvious. So the map design is still abysmally bad. The objectives and the map layout equally bad. The stock grind is horrible. And then there is also the economy in general being improved and still bad. Not extremely very bad, just bad to very bad. And that's me being somebody with a premium account, being relatively good at this, if I might say so myself. While things like this are funny, they just show the lack of quality control, of the people in charge playing their own game modes. For me, it is obvious that nobody is really interested in this mode anymore, because apparently none of the players care about the game mode or ships. Maybe it's not popular, and maybe more resources should be devoted to tanks. I disagree. I think that ships are great, and they could be fun, and they were once fun. They just were developed into the wrong direction, with none of the problems being really addressed. But, no new stuff just piled on top of this. We are at a state where random fires in the cap are just a funny feature, no bug, comrade. And where a stock 5.0 light cruiser that has no parts and no FPE and has no armor piercing or semi-armor piercing or base use HE can, and in the majority of cases because of the lack of players, will face dreadnoughts, battle cruisers, and even super dreadnoughts. And then if you think that enduring confrontation does it better, look at this rubber banding. Look at it. I'm not making this up. This is not on my PC. This is not a lack of hardware. This is from the server. Just the hamster dying. With quite a rhythm, I have to say. The state of naval forces is really bad. And if I would talk about the bad gameplay aspects, we would be here in a few weeks' time. I still play it because I found my place in it. But this is not future-proof. This is not for a wide audience. This is especially painful for new players or any sort of free-to-play player. And the world is fine if you spawn in your fully upgraded battleship and you blab cruisers, then you have absolutely no idea what the people are talking about. So there are not many YouTubers making content about this. There are not many people playing it. We're going into longer and longer queue times. One of these showcases is this battle. I spawn here with a patrol boat that can shoot 7-8 kilometers with the autocannon in the back, and I am as you can see on the minimap, in my own spawn. And from my spawn, I more or less spawn camped the enemy. And yeah, that was a fracture that I just blapped. From my spawn to their spawn. The combat distances for patrol boats are ridiculously short. I've criticized this before destroyers were in the game. We haven't seen maps with bigger patrol boat fighting areas. We have not really seen really new inventions with the game mode design. The latest one being a huge circle in the open ocean, where it's really fun to then spawn with this versus battleships. Yeah, and here we just shot each other again from spawn to spawn. And this goes on and on and on. And this is no exaggeration. This is the state of naval forces in 2020/2021. And I think that it is apparent that the problem is that Gaijin was too greedy too early on to make it unfun, like with top tier planes, with top tier ships. Another showcase is that, for example, some of the dreadnoughts have repair costs between 30 to 45,000 silver lines fully upgraded. This will not really make the cruiser that just got an ammo rack before he could turn away and run feel better, but it just reduces the silver line income for the player having the battleship, which either is the final reward after a painful grind where he was just blapped by battleships, or he just golden eagled his way through, which is also a fair and common possibility in War Thunder. The current state of naval forces is, as I said, inexcusable, and it has been like this for the better part of 2 to 3 years. If a 6.0 dreadnought costs almost as much as a top tier tank or a top tier plane of battle rating 10.7, you kind of see where this is going, because better, faster battleships with better armor, better guns, and at some point AA will find their way into the game. Mark my words when I say it, that Yamato, Bismarck and Iowa will see the battle rating of 6.3 to 6.7 if you're lucky. Can you imagine the fun having to fight a Yamato in your 5.7 premium light cruiser that you bought for $60? Yeah, that will be a thing. I'm not here to complain about this. This is just the annual reminder of the state of naval forces. And yeah, somebody just came into my spawn and just blapped me before I could turn around with my guns, because the maps are so cramped, they are so small. When you think that the combat distances for tanks are tiny and that the fighting maps for planes are unrealistic, for ships it's just absolutely unbelievable. That's probably the best word. I like ships. What we have in War Thunder is a beautiful game mode with ships that you will never see in any other game potentially. The game mechanics, the idea of the game mechanics is fine. Many aspects that you can control planes and ships in the same game mode is fantastic. But as usual, the execution is horrible. I don't want to sit here and rant all day long and just complain about how bad it is, because I am on the top of the food chain in every single tech tree. I have everything fully spedded and upgraded, because I also grinded for it. Yes, I had some helps here and there from Gaijin, but at the end I played it all throughout all the years, and I did my fair share of feedback, of suggestions in multiple aspects. Bugs, fixes, glitches, I give immediate feedback when I see them, and I can tell you that the majority of things that we see as problems in War Thunder, 3D models, bugs, etc., they could have been avoided with some sort of quality control, with some sort of somebody giving a damn about anything at all at Gaijin, and whatever they have as a justification for the state that the game is. For me as a player, this is just a pile of garbage, and that for no apparent reason. What's the purpose of it? I don't know. So that is one of the reasons why you don't see the amount of Naval Forces videos that I would love to do, because no review ever can be possible in the current state, because everything is just a spawn and shoot each other. There is no tactic, there is no skill involved. It's all just doof doof doof, dead, respawn, rinse, repeat. And that is just a really bad thing, in my opinion. This is not what the game can do, should do, would do if properly developed. Look at the size of the maps. Why does the combat area have to be so tiny? It makes no sense. The lack of cover, the lack of possibilities, it's just too apparent. And there is objective evidence that I'm not the only one. There are not that many YouTubers that make videos. There are not that people playing it. A third to half of the team consists of bots to make, despite long queue times, any sort of matches possible. That's before we talk about the stock grind, before we talk about the overall economy, despite heavily boosted still being atrociously bad. One of the issues that Gaijin brings forward, that decompression is not possible, is because there are not enough players to fill the gaps. There are two problems. First of all, it's because of Gaijin's decision making that the game mode is how it is, and that people try to avoid it. And second of all, it's also Gaijin's decision to introduce the ships that they do at the battle ratings that they do. They never have really tried any other way to give decompression, to make more room. The naval tech tree split is less than ideal. It is a big failure because you cannot research blue water fleet with coastal fleet and vice versa, despite both sides still being mandatory for the gameplay. And that is a fact, because the maps haven't changed, the gameplay hasn't changed. It has only gotten worse with more compression. I could discuss every single aspect in great detail, and I did so in the past, but to little effect. So my tip for 2021: avoid naval forces. And sadly, that's the final verdict as far as I can tell you. See you next time.